Check one, check two. Check one, check two. Let's see. How's everybody doing today? Kareem, I'm working on that, man. You got me feeling guilty. I got to get on my. I'm trying to actually use Restream IO with my OBS to actually get that to work. So that's actually high on my list, Kareem. I'm still working on that, Kareem. I'm still struggle streaming. I hear a lot of YouTubers saying that I'm still struggle streaming. So you see the first slide, autonomous trucks. Um, Long story short, I got a what's up, JM? I am not familiar with the Kilo Motors. Uh, are they part of the autonomous gang? As I was doing my research, I was surprised how many autonomous uh, uh, companies there are. Autonomous companies they are working on self-driving cars. I was pleasantly surprised about that. I guess I was on another stream and somebody in the chat called me an idiot talking about autonomous trucks are coming. So usually when people call me out, I usually try to come and make a video. So next time I have proof that autonomous trucks are coming. Let's be realistic though. It's 10 to 20 years out, but it is coming. If you look in my video catalog, I had my first internship out in there when I was doing tape drives because mainframes don't have enough disk space, so you have to put stuff on tape. It's called a data set and working storage section. So I actually put tapes in the data center to save information, write information. So in that 30 years I've been in IT, 35 years I've been in IT, going from tapes to the cloud, right? You know, that's like this huge leap in time. I was pre-cell phones. So when I first started programming, there wasn't even cell phones out. So we're going to talk about the progression of technology and really what that means in things and actually how does that work. So I was going to throw any questions in the chat. I'm about to get started shortly. I was going to make sure I bring up YouTube. I'm sure people can hear me okay because obviously people are in the chat though. So I like to kind of see myself on YouTube on my phone. Like I said, I'm struggle streaming today. I think TLA said that too. I'm struggle streaming today. O'Shea always use that term. I'll definitely dial up in pages. Actually, I'm so old. One of my first assembler programs, you actually had to make a program to dial the baud device to connect to another modem in another building. So we actually had to write that in assembler. So you can't get any more low level programming than assembler. So I definitely had a ton of pagers. So it's all good. I think the autonomous trucks will still need a John Doe to sit there in case the truck started acting up. I think so, JM. I think they're gonna start with that. I think they're gonna start in the south, so they don't have to worry about bad weather. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. I, JM, I think you part of the way there. It's different levels to autonomous driving, and I got a slide that actually breaks break that down, the different levels of autonomous driving and actually what that means. Right. So let me see. So we're gonna break that down. Oh. So we're about to get started. I do a introduction to cybersecurity class on Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. If you want to, you can always join for the. It's a live. The chat gets pretty. I was pretty surprised this weekend. I thought everybody was going to be watching football. The chat was quite lively. 96 facts. I had the 9600 baud modem. I definitely had that life. Definitely had that life. So once again, I think I was actually on O'Shea's channel, and they were talking about uh, blue collar tech guys, just different jobs for the community, different jobs. O'Shea specifically talks about the men, right? I'm open, but truck driving, IT. He was naming, a lot of those type of jobs. And I just put in the chat for the truck drivers. I think autonomous trucks are going to be on the road in the next 5 years. So the guy said, "Oh no, you stupid. That's never going to happen." I'm like, okay. Number one, I told him to Google it, then get back with me. Then he talked about. I'm gonna hit a slide on that. He didn't think the insurance agency will insure autonomous trucks. I got slides on that. So we're actually going to go through those and chop it up. So if you see, that's the different level of autonomous cars or autonomous trucks. What be driving level one? There are no autonomous. Sorry, level zero. There are no autonomous transactions. Just a regular car. Of course, it's got the old school buggy in it, right? It's driving. Of course, people have been driving autonomously forever. Level one, the newer cars are coming with these features and you can activate them. These cars can handle one task at a time, like auto braking. When you try to switch lanes, right, it beeps at you. So that's level one. Level two, the cars will have at least two automated functions, right? It can drive and brake, right? So if somebody runs out in front of you when you're not paying attention, right, the car will auto brake. All right. Hopefully that never malfunctions and you get thrown out the window. But right, level two is the car will do at least two types of functions. Now I think level three is what most people talk about. These cars handle dynamic driving tasks, might still need intervention. All right, so they're looking at them, but you still in the front seat. You can spin around, hit the brakes, spin around, steer the car. Right, Tesla is actually working on level three. All right, level four is where they say a lot of trucks is going to start. These cars are officially driverless in certain environments. All right. And we're going to look at it's called True Systems. That's the autonomous truck company. They actually went public, I think, in May. Right, it's a startup. They've been doing business, but it actually went public. It actually made a lot of money. Right, so it has all this flush of cash, and it's going to start. It's been test driving, right? They're going to start here. I think he said 2024. Delivering stuff, right? I think JM would be correct that there would be somebody in the driver's seat probably for the first couple miles, but they're currently doing that right now as they're testing, right? The big guy is where everybody wants to get to, where it is no driver seat, anything in the front. These level five, these cars can operate entirely on their own without any driver present, right? So that's the holy grail, level five. That's where we're gonna get at, all right? So you just jump in there, it takes you where you need to take, right, and do what you need to do. So level zero, level one, level two, level three, level four, level five, right? So this is TuSimple. I keep telling it true. I keep want to put an R in there. TuSimple, a provider of autonomous freight semi truck solution. The freight semi truck solution said they will be operational by 2024. So that's in 3 years. The startup has been known to make extravagant claims. Of course, TuSystem has gone public, is now being covered by an equity research firm and has over 5,700 vehicles that have been reserved by sophisticated shippers or carriers in just the first 4 months. TuSimple timeline is looking more realistic. TuSimple offers a level four autonomous solution, right? So we just saw the level four, right? It's supposed to be self-driving in certain conditions, right? So if you're on a highway and you're driving and it's supposed to be sunny, It's clear skies, nothing on the road. Could a trucker go back and sleep, right, while the truck drives itself, then wake up and drive the truck, right? Because what happens a lot of times is when you drive a truck, you can only drive it so long before you sleep, right? But if you can sleep in a truck when it's in those perfect conditions, could you continuously could the truck continuously to operate without ever stopping, right? Right, saving a lot of man hours. Let's see. I'm not sure how would insurance handle it with an accident. I got that coming, JM. Slow you, but pump the brakes. I got that occurring. Long story short, and this actually happened to Tesla. If it's self-driving and the artificial intelligence has an accident, that's actually a product. You have insurance for your product, right? Kind of like you have insurance for your phone, you have insurance for your product. And actually, I was surprised, and I'm gonna hit on it hard. The actual insurance premiums drop down because most of your accidents are caused by people. They have millions of driving miles currently. There's autonomous cars and trucks actually testing over the last decade almost. So the insurance company believes that won't be a insurance claim on a person. That'll be insurance claim on a product. Right. So I got a couple slides out, and I'm gonna put all those links in the description. How does this compete with existing Google autonomous? Kareem, I think True might be a little ahead of Google. I think they're all about the same, to be honest, because you got Google, Tesla's got one, True's got one. It was like I was surprised. It's like 5 or 6 autonomous cars out there and trucks out there. I think they're all kind of in the same boat. Jam, whether the driver or the manufacturer will be held responsible. They believe the manufacturer will be held responsible. It'd be product liability. A guy was actually letting his Tesla drive while he was watching a movie. The Tesla ran into a police car, right? So they actually sued Tesla and not the person, right? Because the person wasn't driving. Tesla says, of course, the person, because they're at level 3, you're supposed to be paying attention while it's driving. Because really, you are when you do that and you let the car drive, but you right there to handle, you're working all the bugs out, right? You're beta testing their autonomous driving system, right? So I mean, people's got they show people on the highway in the back seat letting Tesla drive itself. I'm like, nah, I'm a little too old for that player, but you see young kids like they're out there, and the weather and whether the driver or the manufacturer, yep, it's gonna be the manufacturer. Them old school truck drivers gonna have to become tech savvy. No, JM, I think if you're old and you're in the truck driving, even if you're in your 40s, I think you're gonna make it to retirement before autonomous trucks take off. Because you got to remember, I just read we're short like 150,000 truck drivers that we need currently, right? So even if autonomous is in the south, they're still going to need the truck drivers to take a lot of stuff up north and Canada. So I think the current truck drivers will be fine. New people, like in your 18 and 15s, thinking about truck driving, I think those are the people that's going to actually be in trouble, right? Moving forward. Those are to be the ones struggling. So the one thing when I first read it, and I actually thought about it more for cars, is okay, you driving, you driving your car. How are you gonna, drive in the city? How are you gonna park it in the highway? And if you're on a little street and somebody drops up for it. So there's 3 phases. The first mile is when you pick up product, right? You're in the city. Then you got the middle. That's all highway, all easy. But then you got the last mile, right? That's you taking it to the truck depot. You taking it to Best Buy. You taking it to a grocery store, right? What they saying is they're just going to do the middle part, right? I'm driving from the east coast to the west coast in the south. No, hardly any bad weather. Maybe a little rain at most. No sleep. I'm just driving that middle, right? I'm going to park at the top of the highway. Then the trucker's going to drive it down in the city to do the hard part, right? So if you just have it do the middle, right? That's significantly easier, right? We always call that the 80-20 rule, right? When I program for 20 years, 80% of that stuff is going to be easy. You can get 80% done in the first 20%. That hard 20% is going to take you the rest of the 80% of the time, right? Because you got to figure it out. But if you think about it, if I drive it to the top of the highway, then it drives itself, right? Meaning everybody says Google Maps. Google Maps on a highway is spectacular. I'm old enough where you used to miss the exit because your phone was slow trying to sync up. Now you have 1,000 meters. Please get in the left 2 lanes, right? So the GPS mapping, right? All that GPS mapping is what's gonna support the truck driving in the middle, right? So that's gonna take a lot of the issues of the truck out, right? The hard part is picking it up, loading it up, right, and driving in the city to get the highway. The other part is taking it down out the highway in the city. Two of my uncles drive trucks. They said when you go into New York, you got to kind of go in the daytime because the streets are so packed. You get in and you get out, right? So that's the same thing for that. If you don't have to worry about the hard part of driving in the city, right? That takes away a lot of the concerns of the self-driving truck. Said ain't so. This many big rigs are going to be on the road with me while my grandkids are driving. This is maybe facts, but blind guy, they were saying it's more safe for the truck to drive than the actual human because humans fall asleep. Humans get confused. If the truck gets confused and it can't do something, it's just gonna stop, right? It's gonna stop, right? And two is part of that mapping. I was listening to the Lip guy a couple years ago. He said they're gonna have drones flying over the city, flying over the highway, so it'll help the truck figure out what's in front of it. Right? There'll be people be looking at the monitor, looking at the map, looking at the drone footage. So if the drone sees an accident, it can tell a truck to go a different way. Right? It can go into the mapping feature and says this part of the map is closed. Like you can do that in Google now. You said this part is closed. It'll give you an alternate route, right? The next fastest alternate route. Then you put it with Waze, it says even better. There's an accident in front. Take a different route, right? And two is you got to remember as people drive, the mapping is getting so much better now, right? Because people, as they drive with Google Drive Ways, it figures out, okay, a lot of people are stopping this way or people aren't going that way. Something's wrong with it, right? So they'll take you a different route to speed up your route, right? So the majority of autonomous trucks is the mapping in the traffic, right? So I'm guessing that we will only allow autonomous trucks driving on in highways. So I'm guessing that we only allow autonomous driving in. Oh, true. When it first starts, I don't think it's going to even drive in the streets. I think it's all going to be mostly highway. JM, I think it's going to be in the south in good weather, and I think it's going to be on major highways that are super easy, super well mapped out, right? Because you got to remember when I first heard about it, I made this decision. Oh, they're going to do everything. When you listen to this guy, they're going to do simple, easy stuff. It's going to be well-known routes, super easy. They're going to have drones flying over, and it's going to be like a few of the big highways when it first starts, especially in the south because the weather's a lot better and snowstorms don't jump up for you. If you think about airplanes has been facts doing autonomous flying in the middle. Oh, that is true with very few accidents. That is a good comparison. My neighbor actually is an airplane mechanic, but you're 100% correct. The airplanes been doing autonomous flying, but of course, there's very few obstacles in the sky. Though you got to avoid other planes, but it's very few obstacles. And you're right, Jam. I think that's a good thing because the pilots wake up, right? They land the plane. That's the hard part, right? Flying from this point to that point. Right, it's easy for a plane. There's really no obstacles. But they know where other planes at. You got the radar people checking it. Then when it's time to do something hard, the pilot takes over, right, and they land the plane. Yeah, blind guy. I'm like you. I've been looking for the jet. We're not flying yet, but the cars will be driving. Um, but yeah, that's it. Once again, the first part of that is the middle mile, right? That's the hard part. We're not driving in the city to get it loaded up. We're not taking it down in the city delivered to get unloaded, right? We're just doing the middle miles, but like I tell a lot of truck drivers, that's where you make most of your money, in the middle mile, right? That's the long part of the drive, in the middle, right? So if you take it up to a loading dock, you park the truck, right? Then it takes off, right? It has a couple of drones following it. Then when drives like 10 miles where you need to take it, and you do the hard part of driving the city, that's 80% of your cost. That's 80% of your paycheck, right? Or 90% of your paycheck in the middle miles, right? That's when you get your mileage for the truck. Here's another one, just again of the middle mile, the first mile, base material, raw material. In transit inventories is the middle mile. Then once again, you get to the final mile. All right, so that's it. So that's the simpler part. That's you making it easier. The navigation is easier. It's pre-mapped, right? The middle mile offers, they call it, fewer edge cases, right? In the middle mile, you just do it, right? So this is the thing I currently look up. See my map of the United States. So currently 24 states allow level 4 autonomous semi-commercial deployment. If no traffic accidents occur, that results in a negative publicity, and that in turn does not cause the regulatory landscape to tighten. They believe the year 2024, which is 2021, will be the start of autonomous drivers to replace human drivers. But even in 2024, these trucks will not be running across all lanes nationwide. Rather, they will be focused targeting across targeted lanes for selected customers. The autonomous trucking revolution is going to happen, and it's going to happen sooner rather than later. So 24 states already ratified it. I'm sure the rest of the states are going to make that happen. And two is it's going to be a federal bill to make that happen, right? So once again, there's 24 states already. We looked at the levels, right? True, and most of the trucks are at level 4. So that's where we're moving at. What's up, Ty? So how are companies going to save money if they still need to have a driver in the truck? Moreover, it will probably increase the maintenance costs. Um, that's a great question. You're right. The first couple years they're gonna lose money with the driver, or if it's level 4, I think the driver will be able to sleep, so it's gonna make its money because the truck shouldn't have to stop. Right, the driver can only drive for a certain length of period. So level 4, if it's good weather in the right place, I think the trucker can actually sleep while the truck was driving. So theoretically, the truck will never stop. But JM, that 2 years is going to be test driving. If they have 1 or 2 accidents over the next 2 years, there will be no driver in the truck probably the third year, and that's when they're going to save their money. So I think that's when they're going to save their money, right? Because when you have the trucker in there, if it proves that, it's going to work all the bugs, I'm sure the trucker might jump up every now and then to figure out something. The truck gets confused, or, right? So you're going to be working those bugs out in real time, those probably first 2 or 3 years, JM. After that, once they figure it out, especially if they don't have any accidents in that time, then you're going to get rid of the driver. And I think that's when you're going to really get the big savings for that. I just stole this video. I did one on the Tesla. So Tesla and most of those companies actually create their own chip hardware, building silicon chips that power self-driving software from the ground up. There's small microarchitecture improvement into account while pushing hard and squeezing maximum silicon performance per watt. Perform forward planning, timing analysis of design, write robust, randomized tests, scoreboard and functionality, implement compilers, drivers, and programs to communicate with this chip. So Tesla has a chip. I think Waymo has their own chip. Right. So everybody's creating this specialized hardware to do this autonomous driving. Right. That right there is Tesla neural network, applying cutting edge research to train deep neural networks for problems ranging from precision control or per camera network analysis raw image to perform systematic segmentation, object detection, molecular depth estimation. Our bird eye view networks take video from all camera style, put the row layout, statistic, infrastructure, 3D objects directly on a top down view. Our network learns from the most complicated and diverse scenario in the world, iteratively sourced from a fleet of nearly a million vehicles in real time. Right, that's Tesla's version of their neural, but everybody's kind of doing that in place. And shout out to my man. He's in the house. He's Mr. AI. I probably need a little engineering cannabis. Everybody check him out. So yeah, that's Tesla's AI. It shows you the objects. It shows you the chip it needs to be able to do that at the speed it needs to do. And I'm gonna let engineer cannabis chime in. It's machine learning, right? It's teaching it. It's learning. It's learning in real time, and of course they take it in house to do certain tests to figure out what's gonna happen, right? I'm just do like sensors, deep learning, facts. Jam, because semi trucks are so big and heavy, any minor accident can be resulting for this section must need to have a low freight. Oh yeah, JM. It's and they've been testing probably for a decade, JM, about autonomous trucks out on the road and autonomous cars. They got their own infield test labs. If you ever see Porsches and them go around a test track, they've been doing that forever for autonomous trucks. But you're right, it definitely has to be low fatality. But two, JM, you got to think is with the truck being on there with all the sensors, it's programmed not to race a car. It's programmed to think a car is going to cut in front of. It's programmed to go the speed limit. Right? These trucks never going to speed. Right? Because they're controlled by him. Some trucker might be like, I'm late. I need to put it down so I can make it. I'm gonna start going 80. Truck ain't gonna never do that. Truck's never gonna speed. A truck's gonna make sure it's got a decent space of distance to stop, right, JM? So you get a lot of benefits for letting a truck drive it versus a human, right? Right, second version of machine learning. So that was the AI. Let's keep going. This right there, you see the shapes of the cars in front of it. From Tesla, they call it autonomy algorithms. Develop the core algorithms that drive the car by creating a high fidelity representation of the world and planning trajectories in that space. In order to train the neural network to predict such representation, algorithmically create accurate and large-scale ground truth data by combining information from the car sensors across space and time, using state-of-the-art techniques to build a robust planning and decision-making systems that operates in a complicated real-world situation under uncertainty. That's the key word. It's building that real world right there, but it's under uncertainty. It evaluates your algorithm at scale of the entire system fleet, right? So when you got a million cars or a million trucks on the road, it takes all that data. If a truck does something or gets some information, gets confused, once you figure that out, it's automatically uploaded to the neural network. So all the cars benefit from that learning, right? Each person benefits itself from learning on its own, right? The person might tell you, but until you experience sliding on a highway, two of my uncles are used to drive semi trucks, and he started laughing. One of his nephews in Texas called him because he was up in New England. He never drove that truck in snow. He was from the south. He never drove the truck in the snow, right? So now you got to learn that on the fly, right? Where the truck, if it slides a little bit, or if it's going to say, okay, I slid this far, this was the effect, right? So I'm going to put that up in a neural network so all the trucks will learn, right? You got to learn that on your own when you driving in the snow in a truck. You from Texas, you go up to New England and it's snowing and you never drove a truck in the snow. So my uncle trying to teach him, how to drive the truck. I tell my uncle that didn't make me feel good in the world of things, though, right? But that's real talk of how stuff works. What's up, CL? Tiny in the house. The use of deep learning, super reinforcement learning with applications in 4G technology. Facts. And neural networks complicated user. Yeah, engineering cannabis dropping gems in there from a neural network. I programmed neural networks in college in 1988, but we were using Prolog. There wasn't really enough computing power to really get a network to do what you need to do, right? Everything so, but now it's been, oh my God, 20 years. Computing power is so much better. So now you can start uh, like engineering cannabis said, machine learning, AI, predictive learning, right? We just saw the sensors and what stuff looks like from a AI and that, showing cars in front of you, right? There's different segments to that technology. So evaluation of infrastructure, build up and closed loop in hardware, tools and infrastructure at scale to accelerate the pace of innovation and track performance. So these are tools those companies build themselves to track stuff. We call it instrumentation, right? Because you want to keep track of every second of data that happens to the truck, right? From braking, sliding, all of that, right? So track performance, improvements and prevents regression, leverage autonomized characteristics of clips from the fleet, integrate them into a large suite of test cases, write code to simulate our real world environment, produce highly realistic graphics and other sensors, data that feeds its auto fleet, software for live debugging and automated testing. Right, so those are different technology of autonomous company, and part of that is debugging, testing that from a computer standpoint before you even get the truck actually in the test track or even on the road. Right, it all loops in there. Right, it's all part of that. Oh yeah, that's in there, Kareem. I just kind of made that on a Lex statement. All those sensors are real time monitoring of what's happening. And the cool thing is when you have multiple trucks out there and multiple real time cars, one of the next level benefits is they're going to talk. They're going to know you're a millimeter away, or 3 millimeters away, or I'm in your pocket. You can't see me. So as a person, there's blind spots around your car. If every car is out there has the autonomous software in it, right? They're going to communicate to each other. Right? They're going to have a map, and the map is going to show where the other car is, proximity to the car that's doing the censoring, right, Kareem? That's going to be the next level, right? So if you remember, I always joke Will Smith and iRobot. The car was driving 300 miles an hour, and it was a millimeter behind another car, right? Because they're talking at their speed, so the cars understood that. So you're 100% right, Kareem. So here's the one about the insurance we were talking about, and I was kind of surprised about that. And the article will be in the description, so you can double check that. Self-driving cars disrupt the insurance industry. The last item is true will significantly lower the risk traditionally associated with driving. In fact, the removal of the driver fundamentally alters the liability to the insurance company that has spent almost a century covering. As the liabilities and risk shift, the vehicles are insured, the cost of the insurance will change, disrupting the $300 billion industry, right? And creating opportunities for innovation. With level 5 vehicle operation, they're no longer the owner or human driver, but the AI is actively making decisions to steer, slow, or accelerate the car. The very concept of owner or driver error disappears if the AI messes up and causes a crash. Who fault is it? The driver liability would most likely turn into product liability with the AI at the wheel, right? So that's the one. I think JM asked that question earlier, right? It's going to turn from the concept of an owner or driver error disappears. If the AI mess up, who fault is it? It's more likely to turn, that slide into product liability. All right. The OEM or whoever supplied the automation system or is the component may be liable. We already start to see this as Tesla faces several product suits over the fatalities involving autopilot. With level 5, with level 5, the vehicle operator is no longer the owner or the human driver, but the AI is actively making decisions to steer, slow, accelerate, and stop the vehicle. The very concept of owner or driver error disappears. If the AI mess up and causes a crash, who followed this? Driver liability most likely would turn into product liability. And with the AI of the wheel, the vehicle OEM or whoever supplied the automation system and or components may be liable. They're already starting to see this in Tesla because Tesla faces several lawsuits over the fatality involving autopilot. Why people let Tesla drive the car, right? So that's the big part from the insurance part, right? Everybody, oh, who goes insurance? The insurance companies believe it's actually going to make the insurance cheaper, right? When we get to level 5, right? Everybody's at 4, everybody's trying to get to 5, right? The next step of technology algorithm learn from reward the system where data is not needed. You reward the algorithm by completing the task and reinforcing the learning. Engineering cannabis dropping dimes. But yeah, so when we talk about insurance, the insurance companies are already over. That article I think was actually from Deloitte and Touche. They have a big insurance practice, right? So they actually been going over there. What would that look like? But if autonomous vehicles do prove to be fundamentally safer, the tech behind them, becomes cheaper. Risk will be reduced, and so will premiums. A once $300 billion industry could dramatically shrink. Right. So I think that's where we're going to be. I think insurance is going to be cheaper, but let's be realistic. I mean, I'm not engineering candidates to chime in. I think we 10 to 15 years before we get to level 5. We're on level 4, right? I don't think it's anything around the corner. I don't think it's anything imminent. And two, remember, we have a shortage of drivers. So this, I think, is going to plug the gap of the shortage in the next probably 5 years, right? You have some routes that are short in the south, weather's controlled, super mapped out. Drones can fly over it because this is super close, right? And I think it's going to pick that low hanging fruit, right? So let's not mistake that it's going to be next year or 2 years ago. But everybody in this chat, because I'm probably the oldest one, I'm 53. I don't think anybody, I will see this before I die. I'm going to be perfectly clear. I'm going to see a self-driving truck with nobody in it before I die. And I'm only thinking I'm going to make it to about 85, people. I done had a rough life. I ain't going to make it too long. So I got to probably another good 28, 30 years, man, and I'm calling it a quit, right? But I think before I die, I'm gonna see a self-driving truck because I was surprised self-driving trucks are gonna happen really before self-driving cars. Why? Highways much easier to drive. Highways really mapped out. You have less complex accidents, aka edge cases. Remember, we're just talking about the middle, right? We're not driving in the city. We're not delivering in the city. We're getting that easy middle part, right? You're up on the highway, and a lot of people put it on cruise control, right? I remember when I was young, my daddy put the big caddy on cruise control, and you just roll. So the new trucks are gonna make that happen, right? Jam, I'm not so worried about the truck technology. I'm worried about the other crazy people driving, cut in front of the truck, or doing something. Jam, you're right, but I think it'll be easier for the truck because I think the truck will take that in consideration. I think the truck will have a safety zone where it won't be right next to a car. Right, so I think a lot of that actually make it safer. Where a lot of trucks, they're like, I got to get there to get this pay. They're gonna run. Where I think a truck, if it needed to slow down 40 miles an hour, because the truck itself is not getting paid, so it doesn't make a decision based on my check or my time, or if I need to get somewhere because I'm gonna need to stop driving in a while because I can only drive so many hours. Right, that might cause me to speed. I don't think any of that's gonna be, in the truck's wheelhouse. Right. Uh, this kind of surprised me when I did a little research because I always got to add the little cybersecurity part is TuSimple Truck runs most of their infrastructure on Amazon's web service. Right, I'll make sure I get both of those links in there. So I was looking at it, and we're gonna get to it. They had a couple architectural diagrams we'll touch on, right? But I was super surprised that AWS is supporting True Chuck. Shout out to Jeff Bezos. That's why you can fly to Mars. You're making that infinite money. We're gonna make the whole new industry and human history. We made billions. That is true. Happens up. No, you're right. CL. Shout out to Tiny. Creative destruction, right? As you destroy jobs, you create new jobs. The thing I worry about though is the new jobs we create pay more, but it's usually a lot less. Right. When you look at the traditional farmers, those are actually run by enterprises. It used to be a lot of millions and millions of small farmers. All those people got knocked out for the mega farm. So I think a lot of semi drivers in the future, 20 years ago, are going to be knocked out by technology. Right. As it gets bigger and better, it's going to, every technology, right, goes through iterations and it gets better. It's engineering insurance companies are already using deep facts for insurance collection data on how to drive and then predict how dangerous you are. Tesla's about 2 years away. Facts. I think Tesla was selling insurance for a while. They got in bed with one of the insurance companies. Somebody Google that. Yeah, Tesla's got in bed with insurance. So engineering cannabis is correct. Tesla's and all those companies been partnering with insurance companies, and insurance companies have their own AI to talk about what's going to be the death rate. I used to work for an insurance company. They do calculate death. That's how they know what premium to charge you, right? While you paying your insurance, right? So they've been calculating that for decades. The part engineering cannabis putting in, I'm adding AI with the information and the data from the truck, right? How many trucks had an accident? What speed? Who died? Then two is what's the likelihood of that? So they'll do it. Kareem, this is quite a pronounced Kutar. Oh, thanks. If you want to see self-driving, I'll look at that. But yeah, Kareem put another. There's so many self-driving car companies. I was surprised that, and most of those do trucks, right? Facts. The cloud is computing taking place. Facts. I was looking. Somebody said Fast 15. They're gonna be fighting the Avengers. So, but autonomous trucks once again. They were partnering with AWS and two is let's get in there. And I love looking at software and stuff. So this was from the AWS article. Use AI to make a fully autonomous trucks. For all the hoopla surrounding self-driving passenger cars, there's actually a pertinent problem that autonomous vehicles technologies are working to solve, bringing self-driving technology to the long haul. Trucking isn't cheap. The cost of an average of $1.69 per mile to operate a long haul truck, but about 40% of that represents the driver's salary. Right. So if you get the autonomous working with no driver, which I think could be in the next 5 years, right, you're gonna cut it from $1.69. I think it's gonna be 50%. They're gonna cut it in half. Let's cut it 80 cent, put another five back down to 85 cents a mile. Right. Then on top of that too is a lot of truckers waste gas because they're speeding, they have to get there, right? You can have that autonomous software drive at the optimal speed to save gas, right? You're human. I'm just trying to get done and get my money, right? I'm not worried about the gas, right? That's the company's issue, right? Unless you're your own trucking company, right? But most people work for trucking companies, right? That'll be a trucking company issue, right? So I think you're going to at least save 50% because I think you're going to optimize for the use of gas. Right? Meanwhile, truck drivers are hard to find, like we talked about. One estimate suggests the freight industry currently a shortage of 100,000 drivers, and that could triple in 2026 as e-commerce continue to push demand for freight higher. Trucking is also dangerous. Large trucks were involved in 4,700 fatalities in 2017, increase of over 9% over 2016, despite an overall decline in passenger Jeff. As a result, truck driving is now classified as the most dangerous job in America. One solution of this change is clear, if complicated. Have some trucks drive themselves, leveraging artificial intelligence to fill the existing driver shortage and increase safety. But building a self-driving truck is no trivial task. Right. So once again, there's 100 short, so people aren't going to lose their job. We're going to fill that gap, right? Shout out to Tiny. He's always talking about they should go electric too, and I think a lot of trucks will go electric. I think a lot of them just get refitting the current trucks they have. So much money in the AI, cybersecurity, and cloud automated vehicles. Soon, mechanics will still need to learn how to fix AI on the road, and we need brothers in this millions to be made. Oh, facts. So Kevin said you got to figure out how to fix the AI, and the truck's gonna break, right? So you got to fix the AI cameras and software in there, right? Too. So facts. Let's see, where am I? So we know the shortest. So I was surprised I could actually find their architecture diagram. So we just gonna hit it a little high level. Talk about what they got running in AWS. I don't know if it's a security hole or not that I can figure out the architecture diagram. Now as a hacker, we can attack true. No, I'm just joking. I think your boy Jeff Bezos already has self-driving vans. Facts, JM. And two is that's an excellent question. Already has self-driving vans and drones, right? So all those technology plays in the building a self-driving truck. When Jeff Bezos flies to Blue Origin, right, to the upper, then he lands it, right? All that technology, all that mapping of the earth, all that speed of that, all that trajectory of the planet turning while you got to land back down, all that goes into your self-driving truck technology, right? It all builds on top of you. Right. So if you look, and we're just going to scan, so their development environment at the top. It's got Amazon Workspace, straight up GitHub, AWS Code Builder, straight in Amazon ECR. Your contact, it's using Amazon HD Map and Amazon CloudFront. They're processing with Amazon Gateway. Lambda is a serverless server where you put Java, PHP, or whatever code. When you run it, it actually spins up Windows or Linux underneath of that, right? So you don't have to rent those servers, right? When you rent Lambda, when I run my Java, it says, okay, somebody's hit my web page, the Java's there, spin up that infrastructure, put my Java code in there, run it. After 30 seconds, if nobody else is coming back through, it releases that hardware. Now I don't have to pay for that hardware. Right? Amazon Cloud watching events, certain things, maybe if a truck gets confused or if the truck's throwing a lot of data, if a truck is having an AR issue, Cloud watches say that event is outside parameters. Send events to security or person or send it to the batch program, right? Then data storage using DynamoDB, Amazon S3 fleet data, and Amazon, once again, DB with the feature database. The first one over there was metadata. Right. So one of the metadata things I thought was interesting that was said in the truck, and I think I didn't put it in my slides, was everybody brakes a certain way at a certain distance in front of a car at a certain frequency. Some people pump, some people mash. I could take the milliseconds between how you pump brakes, how you hold it, how you stop, and I could tell from you driving a car if it's you or not, right? The metadata of how you stop a car will be a signature for the individual person, right? So the people were like, well, is that a security problem? Is that a privacy problem? Or is that just is what it is, right? So that's how they were talking about metadata when you start uh, taking telemetry data on everything you do, from how do you brake, how do you stop, how do you accelerate, right? How do you drive as a person together would be a fingerprint of you, right? And since I have all those data points, right? Because I'm keeping track of all that, right? I have a digital dossier of how you drive. So when you drive in a car, I won't need to look in the car. I just need to take your dossier and compare it, and I will have a high probability, a chance of predicting who's actually driving that car, right? Pre-processing is using Amazon Kinesis, which is a data stream, right? It's pumping all that data. So you got to get it, once again, AWS Lambda and writing it into a database. The ingestion of that is Amazon Cognito, Amazon AppSync. Authentication, batch upload, right? They show the tax. And over here is authentication and real-time upload of that data to make sure nobody's stealing it. AWS IoT, AWS Gateway. So probably what I'll do is, because I'm getting serious about AWS, is take each one of those technologies and break them down individually, right? And kind of do a stream on the technology. And I guess, do I think it's safe? Do we think we can hack it? Do we think a nation state could get it? Right. Once again, that shows kind of the same thing, just different, some different technologies and different. So on the slide, AWS Connected Vehicles with AWS IoT green grass core. It's the Internet of Things. It keeps track of everything from braking, stopping. Right. They actually have a service for that. Once again, AWS Lambda is going to take R, Prolog, whatever the program is, languages. When it hits it, right, it's going to spin up the hardware underneath. Amazon Kinesis data hose, right, because there's going to be a ton of data that's coming in from a car when it's driving. Shows you the raw data in the S3 bucket. Once again, it shows you the Amazon Kinesis data analytics, the stream, what program you're using. It's got the anomaly detection if something happens wrong. It's got a box for trip data. It's got a box for driver source, diagnostics trouble, location-based marketing, and notification service. So those are some of the Amazon planes they have of services that's going to be, and it's just not from true. Tesla has it. All the companies are keeping track of this data, metadata, actual data, right? Because that's what you're feeding in. And engineering cannabis just said the AI machine learning, you got to feed it data so it'll learn, so you know if you're doing it correctly, right? So quick slide. The AWS Connected Vehicle solution, that's what they would call it. When AWS IoT receives a message, it authenticates it and authorizes the message, and the rules engine executes the appropriate rule on the message, which routes the message to the appropriate backend application. An AWS IoT rule sends telemetric data to Amazon Kinesis data Firehouse delivery stream, which encrypts and streams the raw vehicle telemetry data to an Amazon S3 bucket. Facts, I like it encrypted. If the Amazon Kinesis data analytics application detects an anomaly, the record is sent to the Amazon Kinesis data stream, which invokes a random function that parses the record, stores it in Amazon database table, and triggers an Amazon system notification to the user. Right, so that was kind of architecture, what we were looking like. That was their presentation and reading of what that looks like and what that was. So we're gonna look at a few little issues, not issues, but attack vectors. When I looked through the data and I read a couple things from that insider threats. Developers, when developers leave an organization, they have critical trade secrets, right? Developers could put backdoor and time bombs into code for autonomous driving. The one thing that was not crazy was they said most of those autonomous driving is proprietary. There's kind of really no standard, and it was like 100 million lines of code, right? So one of the government agencies says they're not qualified or have the resources to look at 100 million lines of code, right? So, so I guess they're trying to figure out how do they validate that the car is good, right, from a federal standpoint. right? Two is an insider could remotely quadruple the amperage of a charging station, resulting in it becoming a fire. So one of the attacks a user could do, and I never really thought about that. The charging station, right, has amperage to figure out how much to charge your car. If you quadruple that amperage of the charge, it will catch on fire, right? That's code of how much amperage the charging station is getting, right? Deloitte manufacturing executives trace 42% of the cyber incidents to insider threats. The average new vehicle relies on system utilizing more than 100 million lines of code, software code, leading to cars that are increasingly sophisticated, connected, and also increasingly exposed, right? So you have 100 million lines of code, right? You got to validate that. You got to search through it. You got to look for vulnerabilities in that code, right? So it's super sophisticated and super connected, right? Cars are talking to each other, talking to the actual charging station, super connected. But that leaves you exposed, right? Because you can attack it. They call it dumpster diving for data. Vehicles base can also compile and analyze data to generate less obvious insights, right? So we talked about all the data, talked about that. Instance devices can be taught to differentiate between a set of users based solely on brake pedaling input. Many parties eagerly await unrestricted access to the data, including standard players such as data brokers, insurance carriers, but pairing or forming to monetize this data in new ways. Some rideshare providers already offer the ability to synchronize the passion of streaming audio service with the vehicle while he or she's in it. So what new data are you going to get from that? What new ways to sell it, right? How do we track it? Because when Facebook first came about, the first 10 years, it didn't make any money. It couldn't really figure out how to use that data to sell it, right? Now they mastered it, and it's $1 billion company, right? It's part of the Fang dynasty, right? But what new things are going to come out that when you, like we said, from a car, from you braking, from you driving, from you speeding, all of that too. You got this new thing where you plug into your car and it tells you if you're speeding, right? And it adjusts the assurance by how you drive, right? Now I don't need to plug that thing in, and the car is giving it way more data points than that little thing you hooked up in the car while you were driving, right? JM, do you think the truck will run on Linux? Yes, I do. I don't think it'll be a standard Linux. I think it'll be stripped down, specialized Linux. They use that. I think the back end for TrueTruck is already running from a form of Linux. When you use Lambda like that, you can use Windows, but there's way more forms of Linux when you looked at the architecture for that Amazon infrastructure was setting up to do data. So yeah, I think it will be a form of Linux. It'd be a customized form, right? Optimized for the speed of data. Because if you look at that Tesla chip I showed, I think that's a form of Linux, but I think it's super optimized to run it. A good set of data might fetch a much higher price online, an individual reseller and replacement parts. Many organizations that issues electronic devices to employees with wiping procedure of laptop mobile devices end of lease or separation, which includes encryption and factory reset and other data procedures. Right. So if you need to reboot your car or wipe it because it has all your metadata in that, how will that actually happen? Engineering cannabis. The algorithms for neural networks have numerous problems, but there is a new research that utilize hybrid deep learning that utilize both human and deep learning algorithms at the same time. Yeah, facts, cannabis. I believe you 100%. Like you said, I know they're getting it right, and they're trying to. You got to remember, True actually just went public, so they probably got $1 billion worth of money from the stocks, right? So they're gonna have, I wouldn't say infinite money, but they got a lot of money to invest now to get it right, right? And two, don't take this wrong. I worked in insurance, right? And if you look up Pinto, this happened in the 80s. They're calculating how many people are going to die from an autonomous truck, right? They're expecting to get sued. They're gonna have couple $100 million set aside for when somebody die from an autonomous truck. I promise you, that's part of the calculation. What's up, Dave W? I'm glad you came through. So yeah, so don't so the they're expecting that. If you go back and look at Pinto, it was born in the 80s. Chrysler made it. When they did some more testing, they figured out if somebody hit the car from the back end, it would catch on flames. So I think that they calculated it was going to kill 8 people totally all together. That was going to cost them, I think, $400 or $500 million. They were going to give them like $400 or $500 a piece. The car was supposed to make $4 billion over 8 years. They made the car. Pinto made the car, right? So when we talk about autonomous trucks and accidents, they got that. That's already calculated. Like I said, I used to work for a Fortune 500 insurance company, right? I worked in their data warehousing. We were figuring out scenarios how people were going to die and how many were going to die, right? Engineering cannabis will tell you that's just a mathematical problem, right? It's predictive, right? That's what they do. What's up, Dave? What's up, the average black man? Salute, sir. So when you talk about insurance, you saw on the slide they already got the insurance covered. Why? The insurance company, deep learn, they already calculated how many people gonna die. They got that in the budget. So that's definitely a feature, right? They're gonna make that happen, right? Uh, Hijacking vehicles, controls and systems, sensors, seamlessly, hardly meaning risk free. Beforehand, an attacker may conceivably have surreptitiously installed a surveillance device, leaving a transition to extract customer data or inject malicious data into a vehicle network. Subsequent customers will unknowingly broadcast everything from personal information to payment detail to attacker. Worse, a hacker might flood the vehicle with network with bad sensors or navigation data, making the car swerve to avoid an imaginary obstacle or to take a passenger in the wrong direction, right? So somebody's going to hack it and somebody's going to feed it bad data, right? Initiating a vehicle network and open to communications from a smart device can create new attack surface and increase the risk of data leakage. Cybersecurity domain strives to tackle these issues to protect card holder data, payment data processors, establish data security DSS that's named as safeguards device from handling data. Right, DSS is usually PCI, which is credit card. I'm not a huge PCI data fan. It is a protection of that. I will hope we would do some a little bigger and a little better, right? Hijacking a modern attacker with physical access to a vehicle is typically capable of sending or extracting any information. Here's she believes from the vehicle data network, as long as he or she knows what kind of communication the vehicle expects. The problem may only get worse as automakers add features, increasing vehicle capabilities, but broadening the vehicle's attack surface in the process. So I'm going to read that last line. When you add features, you're broadening the vehicle's attack surface in the process. Right. So as you add infrared and night vision, right, those are things I can attack the vehicle to make it do something it wasn't expecting to do. Right. Somebody was doing a Tesla. Tesla was actually reading speeding signs. Somebody took electric tape and turned 30 to 80. The Tesla looked at that 80 sign, but it was changed with the electrical tape that was black, like the writing on it. The car sped up to 80 in a 30, right? So there's still things it needs to work on, right? But it thought it read the sign, right? So that was a low level attack with electric tape. Nothing super duper, nothing super duper hard to do. It just used masking tape, right, to attack that vehicle. I wonder how JM, I wonder how is security of the cargo going to work once the truck goes into full autonomous without the driver. I think they're going to once again lock it up. I think it'll be better because I think the driver is going to stop more than the autonomous vehicle, right? Because there's no restriction on how long it could drive. So I actually think the security is going to be better from a cargo. And two is I think they're going to start using drones to keep track of the cargo. It's not the cargo itself. The cargo itself is the artificial intelligence inside the truck to make sure the truck doesn't fail, right? So the added cost of drone, right, is going to be handle because you will have no driver being there, right? If you don't have a driver, you cut the cost by 50-40%. Right. So the cannabis, you can solve attacking the source data by storing it in a blockchain as soon as the data is transmitted. True. Yeah. Engineering cannabis is the blockchain king in the manosphere. So yeah, you would use blockchain, right? So blockchain, of course, is an encryption, and it tells you if anybody's trying to read it or if somebody even looked at it either that wasn't supposed to look at it, right? So there's definitely using blockchain in there could definitely help with the security of that. Firmware hackers can extract electronic control unit firmware. This allows for the discovery of the possible vulnerabilities built in the firmware as well as extraction of sensitive data, such as encryption keys. Extraction of the vehicle firmware can also expose intellectual property to manufacturer, fuel efficiency parameters, battery health management, electric motor drive characteristics. Ensuring these files are protected and tamper resistant is critical in overall security. Advanced automation vehicle systems, including semis, fully automatic driving capabilities, advanced connected vehicle systems such as radar, camera, driving, and parking assistance systems and collision prevention systems offer attackers connections that bridge the gap from cyber attacks to a physical one. Under a hacker's control, these systems can be used to undermine the fundamental of the system, making that the integrity amount to the vehicle overall. Right, so there's just different ways to attack. But once again, I mean, the truck will be in the move, like engineering cannabis says. You got blockchain, encryption, that AWS infrastructure we look right. AWS has best practices to thwart hackers from getting into it from the back end, which is from the AWS setup. Once again, the vehicle being connected, wireless communication, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, near field communication, mobile internet technology provide many additional possible paths into a connected vehicle. I should be examining for the weakness and vulnerabilities. Infotainment systems, the vehicle's audio head unit, navigation system, USB, CD, DVD, and other physical interfaces are easily accessible, offering potential footholds for hackers to enter in the system and direct access on board components and firmware. Right, so we know all those are tech security vectors to attack. Right, we all know that. There's a ton of ways to secure that now, and I'm sure those big companies, True, Tesla, all of those are working in. And two, when you go to a Black Hat and all those, they're actually hired to try to hack those systems. Right, they're white hat. And two is the thing Tesla does, and I don't know if True does it, is if you hack a truck or hack a car, and it's a unique hack with vulnerabilities of you taking over the car, they pay very well. They'll pay you $20,000 for that type of hack. You'll easily get a 5-digit payday if you figure out how to hack a system like that. Right? The reason they give you those big bounties is they want you to bring those hacks to them when you find them, right? So there are bigger and bigger hacks to pay. So I haven't seen one. That's probably one thing I'll look up and I might put in the description. They're paying you big money if you can hack that system, right? Because they want you to hack it before somebody else is, right? So this is the last slide. Throw any more questions in there because we're wrapping it up. By taking clues from others, they grapple with security, securing critical digital infrastructure, including current efforts to protect connected cars. The extended global automotive industry can help by hopping into shared driverless cars. It's a blast of getting behind a wheel today. Leveraging enterprise IT process for data protection and data decommission. Implementing encryption and software source code starting to protect integrity of system software, develop standard of practices to secure development of critical vehicle system, enforce develop standards on suppliers similar to payment card processes, right? So they're working on how to lock that down from a cybersecurity way. What are the attacks, right? Because a lot of those attacks are still out there for a phone and even Tesla's car. Like they're downloading updates, they're assigning software. So a lot of that's currently being worked out. Once again, I think before I die, I will see a driverless truck on the highway. When you can cut half your price by getting rid of the driver, and you're talking about a $500 billion industry, they're going to make that. They're going to make that happen. How will police regulate this truck while on the road? Let's say there's a speeding violation or some other type. Um, I think, and I'm just guessing, JM. I need to look that up. I think they can still look it up by the plate, and the plate's going to take them to the company. Like they said, it's not a personnel error; it's a product error. So if True's driving that or Tesla's driving that, the company will get that speed violation, and I think that violation will be 4,000 more expensive than you would give a person. Why? Because if that truck's speeding, that means their whole fleet can be speeding, right? Because there should be parameters, so it should never go. So, JM, I think that would be a product violation, right? And I think that would be a fine that went to the truck. So I do a little HIPAA work, and I do a little work with the IRS, and I do work with DOD. If the program breaks or the program's malfunctions or the program doesn't do what it's supposed to do, or we got so many bugs in it, that we call it oversight organization. I'm assuming that would be TSA or a transportation jam. They would fine that company a big fine for that. I'm talking like $1 million fine, right? Because once again, it's not a driver error, it's a product error. The product goes back to the company, so I think it would be a product fine. So, you got Ocean them fining companies that mess up. You got IRS fining companies when they come out. So I think it'll be a product fine jam. And I think that product fine is going to be like big, like $1 million. Why would it be $1 million? If one of your vehicles messing up, that means all your vehicles are messed up. All of them could speed and they all could be a hazard. And they expect you to test that and that to not happen. Right. That's why it's a product. That's why we gave you a license to be able to drive trucks on there. So when you mess up, I think it's gonna be huge. Cannabis, you got me on that one. I was talking about that today to a friend of mine. She's a lawyer, and I think all men are in trouble. I think black men are seriously in trouble. So I think us as a community needs to get focused and try to get that point across. Engineering cannabis. That's excellent, man. That's an excellent question. I know a lot of brothers. We need to get on panels and try to get them. We need to get on. He's done that. Bernard Riley. We need to get. And I say this not joking. We need to be able to get on Kevin Samuelson's show and do a tech thing. He always talk about blue collar brothers and technology because he's got the biggest platform. I mean, I don't think we should be chasing women. I don't think that should be the biggest focus. But you've seen Godfather Kevin Samuels' platform. It'd be like 10,000 dudes in a live chat. Bernard Riley, I mean, he's not close to that. He has 300 or 400. I think we did the tech. It was 300 or 400. But we got to reach out to some of the bigger YouTubers and see if we can get a technology chat going. And we need to get you up there, engineering cannabis, because you definitely got this in this area. I'm dabbling from a cybersecurity perspective, but the AI, you got all of that with the language. So I think that's what we need to propose. Because I know Black Heights, Keith the Techie, Gabe, they all been on Black Pill on O'Shea's show. I've never been on O'Shea's show. He gets, he's got 170,000 followers now. So I think we need to get on the bigger YouTube and, like you say, trumpet it out. And then, like we both know, it's doable. It's not super easy, but it's not super hard, So that's all I got. Anybody got any more questions? I'm glad y'all came out. Make sure y'all come out Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. Take a little break from the football game. I try to do an hour of intro to cybersecurity, get your feet wet. We talking various areas in cybersecurity being Windows, Linux, Active Directory. I think we were talking about wireless this week. How do we talk about it from a cybersecurity? Two is I always like to, I did the autonomous, but I always like to bring it back to the cybersecurity part. I'm glad engineering cannabis came. I should have paid him because I was going to bring the AI and the machine learning, of course, because that's a big deal from the autonomous transaction. That's it, fellas. I'm out. Once again, I should be on Sunday. Hopefully, that's the scheduled time. I usually try to come on Tuesday, Thursday, but I definitely do that 3 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. Introduction to cybersecurity. I'm out, fellas. Leave something in the comment. If not, just leave a comment on the video. I answer all my comments. I'm a tiny YouTuber, so if you put a comment on there, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna respond. If I miss one of your comments in the chat on another vehicle, just put it in the comment of the video that you want me to comment on, and 99.9% of the time, I'm definitely gonna comment. And like I said, I'm a small 2 YouTuber, and I like to get with that. And shout out to my man. Let me scroll up to the top. I'm working on that. Kareem, I'm working on getting Restream IO so I can have drop a link and people come up. I'm struggle streaming right now, fellas. I'm trying to go up. I'm still struggle streaming. Everybody have a good Tuesday. I'm out. Once again, if you got any questions you think of, just come back to that video and comment, and I'll definitely answer them.